So just some background on Udacity. Udacity was founded in 2011 by our founder, Sebastian Thrun. At the time, he was leading Google X, had won the DARPA Grand Challenge earlier than that, and was teaching at Stanford. We are now a global company. We have a little over 400 employees in great places like the Bay Area, India, China, Brazil, the Middle East, and Europe. We have a little over 8 million students using our free resources, and today we have over 50,000 students with us right now. 2017 was a great year for us from a business point of view. We grew over 100%, and in our history we've raised about $160 million, a little over that. The founding story of the company, some of you may know, but the quick story, because it inspires us every day, is Sebastian was speaking at the TED conference back in 2011, and was right behind Sal Khan of Khan Academy. And he was inspired by Sal's story, so returned to Stanford, and without the university's permission, put the class that he and Peter Norvig were teaching up online. In the ensuing weeks, 160,000 people signed up for it, 23,000 people finished it, and when he ranked the students, both his on-campus students and his online students, the first Stanford student came in at 413th. And that notion and idea that there's a lot of talent out there in the world that just needs an opportunity is our founding story and kind of inspires us to this day. So we see a wave coming. It's here, you can argue, and it's happening to everyone, and it's happening at an increasing pace. And it's the essentially impact of technology and globalization on all of our workforce and our companies. In fact, our friends at McKinsey believe that by 2030, over 370 million people will require retraining because their skills will become obsolete. So what's driving this gap? There's a few factors. First, as I mentioned, the pace of technology is on us, and pace of change of technology is on us and is increasing, resulting in shorter cycles of our skills being relevant. We're all working longer for a couple of reasons. A, we're living longer, but the bad thing is we're not really saving that much either, requiring us to work for longer periods of our lives and having our skills kind of in the market and kind of evaluated whether those are obsolete or not. And traditional sources of providing skills are just not generating talent fast enough for these new skills that are required. So the kind of founding thesis of Udacity is that we need to be lifelong learners, that we need to be continuing investing in ourselves. So a little over 3.5 years ago, we developed something called a nanodegree. And a nanodegree is kind of what it sounds like. It is a credential that's earned in a shorter amount of time than kind of prior credentials, typically around 6 months. It's as short as 4 months, as long as 9 months. It's for some of our programs. On average, students pay us around $1,500 for that, and put actually a fair amount of effort in. A typical nanodegree student, depending on the program, is studying on a weekly basis between 10 and a little more than 20 hours, depending on the program. It's very focused, because when you use that amount of time to teach a set of skills, there's not a lot of extraneous things you can do. So it is a little more vocational in nature, but it's targeted at kind of in-demand skills. This recipe appears to be working. Along with that revenue growth I shared with you earlier, our student growth has had a real bump over the last year or two. We've had a more than tripling of our student base over that period, driven mostly by cutting-edge curriculum that we've developed over that time, as well as some international expansion. In fact, just in 2007, oops, sorry about that. Just in 2017, can you just click that to make that go? Anyway, in 2017, we started the year having only 5,000 graduates. We crossed 30,000. We'll cross 40,000 this quarter. We've generated grads in mobile and web development, in AI, in autonomous systems, and some business areas as well. And as you can see from this map, they're literally all over the world. I always like pointing to my son, the ones up in Siberia, up there. Now, this idea of a nano degree and these graduates and their skills in the marketplace is resulting in momentum amongst companies. Companies are hiring our students. We now have over 120 hiring partners. Just to give you a sense too, last year around this time, we had around 20. So what's happened in the market is a real recognition of, especially in the areas that we've taught or launched new programs, and I'll talk about some of those today, that's driven a ton of demand, and our folks are getting jobs from companies like Atlassian to all the way to Zululi, literally A to Z. So this change is coming and it's on us, and it's not going to stop, right? But it's an opportunity for us as well. At Udacity, we focus on helping both individuals and companies through helping their individual employees navigate this change and hopefully flourish. So we saw what was happening in the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence, and we already had some programs in this area, but we recently doubled down and launched what we called our School of AI. So our School of AI has a kind of revamped artificial intelligence program, which is essentially based on the work that Sebastian did with Peter Norvig early. That's been refreshed with lots of new information and cutting-edge materials there, as well as our machine learning nano degree, which has been one of our top programs as well. We've introduced computer vision, NLP, AI programming with Python, and deep reinforcement learning as well to kind of round out the offering. All of these programs are built with industry experts. We typically try to find folks who've done really great work in these areas or have invented something and try to work with those individually specifically, if not the companies themselves that do that as well. And these companies are actually really eager to work with us in most regards. Sometimes they even pay us when they have a vested interest in really getting the word out. But they're excited about promoting their own technology brands, and that plays well as it helps us as a more nascent company or a newer company have credibility as to why a student should work with us. So if you think about what's happening in the world, one of the areas that our students get to tackle, you may not know this, right? So about 1 billion people in the world, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, don't have access to roads that are reliable on a yearly basis. So in light of that, things we take for granted, things like being able to get to the hospital, being able to get supplies, conduct commerce, are often not available or just don't end up happening. And frankly, lives are lost as a result. One of the ways, but if you were to try and build highway systems in sub-Saharan Africa that look somewhat like ours in the United States, it would take, I think the estimate was over 20 years and close to $4 trillion. One of the ways you could kind of handle that is not do the same thing and take to the air. So recently we launched our flying cars and drones nano degree, and this gives people the skills to develop aircraft and drones that can do all kinds of interesting things. Folks are kind of piling into this nano degree right now. Our first cohort just started last month. We face different challenges in cities like Moscow, Jakarta, New York, you name it. We're struggling with traffic. And we have all kinds of auto deaths that happen on a yearly basis. If you're familiar with what's going on with self-driving cars, you've heard the story before. But it's costing real money, too, along with lives. We spend a ton of time in the car. In fact, in Beijing alone, it's estimated on an annual basis, more than $11 billion is lost just due to horrible traffic. In Mexico City, which I think is technically the worst traffic city on the planet, over 20 million people a day sit in grinding day-long commutes. And not only do they not have that wasted productivity and time, it plays a heavy toll in terms of air quality. In fact, I think in early 2016, there were only 26 days of acceptable air quality in Mexico City. So a year and a half ago, you may be familiar, but we launched the self-driving car nano degree. It's the only kind of its program on the planet still to this day. And our students are learning all the technologies needed to build their own self-driving car. In fact, our students do that. Just at the end of last year, our first group of students graduated. We received over 42,000 applications from all over the world for this program. This year, thousands more will graduate from this program. Folks who are familiar with college basketball here in the United States, we had one and dones in this program too, meaning students were getting recruited out of the first term. The program has three three-month terms, so the whole program takes 9 months. But we had several students that were recruited out of their first term, and they get jobs at amazing companies like you see up there on the slide. So building systems that tackle the air and tackle our roads, doing it in today's cities, these cities did not contemplate all kinds of things flying through the air. They didn't contemplate autonomous vehicles. They didn't contemplate all kinds of things we're trying to build. In order to kind of provide that kind of environment, we had to figure out a way to help our students be able to design these systems level capabilities. So with that, we announced something called Udacity Universe, and we have a short video to show you what it's all about.
Udacity Universe is a massive shared simulation environment that allows students to tackle problems at scale collaboratively together. When we're talking about a massive virtual world, it means that virtually anything is possible. The flying car students will control aerial vehicles, the self-driving car students will control self-driving cars.
5 years from now, Many of the transportation actions that we require will be performed by an autonomous vehicle, whether it's flying or it's on the ground, or students will be able to build large scalable systems and try them out, experience what works, what doesn't. You will learn not just how to control an individual vehicle, but actually many vehicles, all performing different tasks and doing it in an efficient, goal-directed way.
So we joke at the company, this is kind of our new campus, and it kind of really brings to life the opportunity for collaborative learning. It'll start with our self-driving car students and our flying car and drone students, but will be extended to every single nanodegree program we have. So you can think about the opportunity, even if you're an introductory learner and are just, for instance, building a mobile app, you'll be able to summon your own self-driving car in the simulated environment. It's kind of an exciting opportunity for our students. So robots. So last year, around this time, we launched a robotics nano degree, and the reason is because all kinds of crazy, interesting things are happening in the world of robotics. Robotics are not like they are in the movies. Robots are actually saving lives. They're helping folks. They don't get tired. They do things super consistently, and technology today is allowing all kinds of things to happen in robotics that we couldn't do before. Cobots are working alongside workers in factories, ensure they stay injury-free. There's a company I got to meet recently called Zipline. Zipline is doing amazing work. They're using drones to deliver blood in Rwanda and other medical supplies. It's an amazing story of how, those impassable roads, now blood gets to folks who need it, sometimes inside of 5 minutes and totally in places you would never imagine. And robots are doing surgery more consistently and safer than ever before. We've got some announcements in our, oops, sorry about that. So as I said, last year we announced our robotics nano degree, and this year we had an exciting new announcement for our robotics students as well. If you play that video, please.
Automation with robotics is becoming a differentiator in the manufacturing industry. The skills you need to know for a career in this robotics field are changing at the fastest rate in history. At Udacity, our goal is to empower you with the real-world, relevant skills that make you successful at your job today and prepare you for the jobs of tomorrow. Our self-driving car nano degree program allowed students the exclusive opportunity to put their code on a real self-driving car. Now, our robotics students will have the opportunity to control real KUKA Ira robots located in Germany.
I am a professor of computer science at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany. Students will have the opportunity to program these robots. The experience with working with physical robots is very different from working with robots in simulation. This is something very unique. You cannot find this in any other online program, and even at many universities, it's very rare to get access to real top-notch hardware.
Join Udacity's Robotics Software Engineer Nano Degree program to learn the latest in robotics software technology and gain access to this exciting opportunity. We look forward to seeing you in the classroom.
So now, along with putting your code on a real car, you now can work with real robots in the robot cloud at our friends at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany. So we are a global company, as I mentioned, and while our roots are in Silicon Valley, we're working with innovators and leaders all over the place as well. Most recently, we announced a relationship with Tencent in China, and we built a new nano degree to help folks become mini app developers that are distributed in WeChat. It's an exciting opportunity for those of you who are not in Chinese social media. WeChat is massive. It's over 1 billion MAU with a really highly engaged audience. And so this is a massive opportunity for a developer to reach their audience in China. In addition to this one-of-a-kind program to help folks become mini app developers, Tencent ponied up for 1 million renminbi in scholarships as well. So, like me, and I'm sure many of you, we thought we would go to college, maybe get a graduate degree, work for 20 or 30 years, and get a gold watch. But I think what folks, especially our students, frankly, have recognized that that's not the new normal, and that they need to continue to invest in themselves on an ongoing basis and really embrace that growth mindset and lifelong learning. I'd like to share with you just some of our student stories. We've got a wide variety from folks who are very much kind of beginner learners and how they've been able to change their lives, as well as folks that are kind of at the top of the tech pyramid as well. So JP is an interesting story. JP was, like many of us, wandering the woods for most of his 20s. At age 30, his wife became pregnant, and he said, oh my gosh, I gotta buckle down. He considered some other alternatives, including community college, but couldn't make that work in terms of his day job. JP became one of our early front-end nano degree students, graduated, now runs his own web development firm and is giving back to his own community by teaching inner city kids to code. It's an awesome story. Abdul Wasa is originally from Eritrea, but emigrated in emergency situations to Germany in 2015. At that point, he had never seen what a computer looks like. But since then, he got a scholarship. We have many corporate partners that provide scholarships, including Google and Bertelsmann and Lyft and many others, in Germany. And he studied to become a developer, and most recently got an internship at Dual. During the day, he was learning to speak German, and at night, he was learning to code, and on weekends as well. Awesome story. So not knowing what a computer looks like to becoming a developer in about 2 years. Crazy story. Ryan. So Ryan was stacking boxes at Best Buy, but earned a scholarship to become a developer with us. And first step out of his nano degree with Udacity, got an internship at NASA, and most recently is a data scientist, a data analyst at the Department of Labor. Adiko is a mother of two in Hungary. She had already earned a master's degree, but it was in literature, and she was looking for ways to kind of provide more opportunities for herself and for her family. She applied for and got a Google Android scholarship, has done really, really well in our program, and is now a designer and an Android developer, and even developed her own app in the App Store that measures your own carbon footprint. And then at the other end of the spectrum, Emoji was already kind of well on her way in technology. She had already done a decade in computational intelligence, having studied at Cal, earned her PhD and studied at Cal. She took the machine learning nano degree with us and is now a senior machine learning data scientist at GitHub and a member of the World Economic Forum on AI. And lastly is Aaron. Aaron works at research at Google, kind of the other end of the spectrum as you think about some of our other students. Has earned 2 nano degrees, both in machine learning and our self-driving car program, and is working on some crazy, crazy topics in the area of AI and perception, and kind of provides the other bookend of kind of the skill set that some of our students have. You know, we urge our students, and we had our user conference just 2 weeks ago, and we urge our students, both prospective ones and existing ones, and frankly our employees too, to write down their dreams and kind of what they want from their future. And we've seen just amazing results, as you've seen from these students, and we hope to see tens and thousands and hopefully hundreds of thousands of folks kind of realize their dreams. At Udacity, we just want to play a part. With that, we'll open up for any questions. Yes?
What are the completion rates?
Sure. The question is, what are completion rates? So depending on the program, we have some programs that have completion rates as high as 80%, and then we have some that have some completion rates as low as kind of the high teens. The reason we have that range is we've had a lot of experimentation over the years with nano degrees, and we've frankly stolen some of the mechanics that provide a little more rigor and discipline around the student experience. Most recently, I'm excited in China, some of our higher completion rates were programs where we did have 1 day a week in person, but recently we completed some pilot programs and cohorts in China where we were able to achieve completion rates around 60% with online only. So we're pretty excited about some of those.
Other than completion rates, how do you measure success for a particular course or an degree?
The question is, how is success measured outside of completion rates? Completion rate is not actually the success measure, it's jobs, ultimately, and are people getting a level up. It is one of the areas that's a little tougher to get perfect data, but we pay very close attention to kind of job change rates and the quality of jobs that people attain after they study with us. Yes? For the car program, yes. I'm sorry? Yeah, the question was, what was the selection process when we have 42,000 applications and 400 grads? So our first cohort was 500 grads. So of that, we had 400 grads last year. The application process, unlike early Udacity, was come one, come all, just try. I think what we discovered over time is that, while you do have instances of somebody with a completely non-traditional background succeeding, more often than not, folks are really struggling and being in programs they weren't really ready for. So applications are not meant to generate exclusivity. They're meant to kind of route you to the right program. So many folks that were excited about becoming self-driving car engineers just didn't have the requisite skills to kind of enter, and so we've routed many of those folks to other programs. But our cohorts have become increasingly larger as word has continued to get out, and then, frankly, as we see students succeed or not succeed, we continue to iterate and provide that feedback. And I guess I have to stop.